They never imagined you would walk out of the wreckage with your head high. They expected the fire to consume you, the chaos to swallow you, the pain to break every part of you. But instead, you walked through the flames and came out forged sharper, harder, and more unbreakable than ever before. That's what scares them. They saw how deeply the situation cut you, how heavy the betrayal was, how hard life hit you, and they assumed nobody could recover from that. They thought the damage would finish you off permanently. But instead of dying inside, something else happened. You woke up a different beast. They expected you to collapse under the weight of everything that went wrong. They thought your heart, your spirit, your confidence would never repair. But you collected every broken piece and rebuilt yourself with precision. And that kind of rebirth, it terrifies them because most people never return from that. They are scared because you didn't just survive, you evolved. You didn't stay in the darkness, you learned to see in it. You didn't stay wounded, you became wiser. You didn't stay the victim, you became the author of your own story. Your survival forced them to face the fact that their destruction wasn't powerful enough. People who tried to break you expected you to come back begging or defeated. Instead, you disappeared, healed, improved, and came back stronger. They don't know how to handle a person who isn't dependent on their approval anymore. That independence makes you unpredictable and dangerous to their control. They thought the pain would make you bitter, unstable, or desperate, but instead it made you emotionally disciplined. You learned how to control your reactions, your thoughts, your silence. Now they can't reach you, can't influence you, can't shake you, and that scares them far more than anger ever would. They're afraid of how quiet you became, because silence after destruction is not weakness, it's strategy. Silence means you're observing, acknowledging, calculating, and learning. They know that the one who survives quietly is the one who returns powerful. They are scared because their best hit wasn't enough. They threw the worst version of themselves at you, hoping you would break. Instead, you showed them your best version right back. You demonstrated that survival is not luck, it's a skill you mastered. People counted on you giving up. They waited for the meltdown, the collapse, the surrender. When none of it happened, they were left confused, because they don't understand how someone can experience devastation and still rise with dignity. You proved that healing is the greatest form of revenge. No shouting, no war, no payback, just leveling up in silence. They are terrified because you didn't just win, you outgrew the battlefield while they stayed stuck in the same war. They know now you are not the same person they hurt. There is a new energy in you, grounded, unshakable, calm, lethal. Surviving what was meant to destroy you changed your nature, upgraded your perception, and sharpened your intuition. That version of you is powerful beyond comparison. They expected scars, but instead you developed armor. They expected you to avoid life, but instead you stepped into new chapters without hesitation. You became someone who lives without fear because once you survive the worst, nothing else intimidates you. They're afraid because they have nothing to threaten you with anymore. You've already been to the bottom, you know what it looks like. You know how to climb out. A person who survived hell becomes immune to the flames. They can't manipulate someone who already knows how to rise alone. They hate that you didn't lose yourself in the chaos. Instead, you found yourself. You learned what you want, what you deserve, what you will never tolerate again. Destruction clarified your path in a way comfort never could. Survival made you emotionally sovereign. You rely on yourself now. You trust yourself now. They see that glow of self-respect, and it terrifies them because they always needed you to doubt your worth in order to control you. You came back wiser. You now recognize masks, illusions, hidden intentions. Betrayal cured you from being naive. Pain made you intuitive. They are scared because you can't be fooled twice. You see the truth the moment it enters the room. They expected you to lash out in rage, but you mastered emotional control instead. You learned to move with intelligence, not impulse, and that terrifies them. because maturity is a weapon that reckless people cannot defend against. They see that you didn't harden into a monster, you matured into someone who chooses peace consciously. You don't need chaos, validation, revenge, or applause. Your peace is now self-generated, and people who cannot control your peace will always consider you a threat. They also hate that your narrative didn't end where they expected. You were supposed to be the cautionary tale, the tragedy, but you became the comeback story. They were ready to mourn your defeat, but now they have to witness your rise. They are uncomfortable because your survival exposes their weakness. If you survived something that would have crushed them, what does that say about their strength? You became a mirror they don't know how to look into anymore. They cringe, knowing you didn't need them to get back up. You didn't ask for help, closure, apologies, or returns. You built yourself from the ground up with your own hands, your own will, your own inner fire. That independence scares them because it proves they never had real power in the first place. They didn't expect you to turn the pain into purpose. They didn't expect you to alchemize betrayal into growth. They didn't expect you to make success out of suffering. Your evolution makes their actions look foolish and small, and that's something they have to live with. Now they look at you differently, with confusion, with respect, with fear, because they realize something they never wanted to admit. The storm didn't destroy you, it revealed you. You weren't broken. You were reborn. They don't fear your strength because it is loud. They fear it because it is silent. Silent strength is the most intimidating. It doesn't need validation, applause, or recognition. It simply exists, undeniable and unshakable. And you carry that now everywhere you go. And that's why they are scared. Because what was meant to end you became the very thing that awakened the strongest, realest, most unstoppable version of you. They are scared because the world didn't see a broken version of you, the world saw a transformed version. They expected you to crawl, but you walked. They expected you to drown, but you swam. They expected you to fade, but you shined brighter. Your growth became public proof that pain doesn't always win. They are scared because you didn't go around telling people what happened. You didn't smear names, beg for sympathy, or expose details. You healed in silence, and that terrifies those who tried to destroy you. When someone recovers quietly, people start wondering what else they are capable of that nobody sees. They hate how calm you became. They don't understand how someone can experience betrayal and still walk with clarity. They can't understand how someone who was pushed off the edge learned how to fly on the way down. Your composure after chaos is something they never expected from you. They assumed your weakness was your compassion. They thought your softness meant fragility. They didn't know that kindness becomes lethal when a person learns who deserves it. You didn't become heartless, you just learned how to stop bleeding for people who cut you. They are scared because you don't flinch anymore. Problems that used to shake you now barely move you. You've seen too much and survived too much to be rattled by little things. That emotional stability separates you from them. They break over what you walk through. They don't know how to react to the new version of you, the one who doesn't panic, doesn't beg, doesn't chase, and doesn't fear loss. Surviving the worst taught you that you can rebuild anything, even yourself. And once you realize that, nothing external can control you again. They also fear the fact that you healed smarter. You now listen more, speak less, and watch everything. You learn to catch things others miss, see intentions before actions, and feel shifts before words. Pain sharpened your instincts, and that terrifies those who once relied on your innocence. They are scared not just because you survived, but because you came back with boundaries. You now know what you won't tolerate. You now know who has access and who does not. You now choose yourself first. And the moment you did, everything they used to take advantage of vanished. They thought keeping you down was an achievement. But now, seeing you rise without their help forces them to face a truth they avoided. You never needed them, they needed you. Your strength forced them to confront their dependency, and that realization burns. They are scared because you became comfortable standing alone. Most people crumble without a crowd, but you learned how to walk without applause. You rebuilt your identity independent of validation. That makes you unstoppable, because someone who doesn't need others cannot be controlled by them. They walked around like they were some once-in-a-lifetime blessing, like you should have been grateful just to be in their presence. They acted like your affection was a luxury they allowed, not something they earned. They really believed you saw them as irreplaceable, and for a while you did until their actions taught you otherwise. They held this delusional confidence, thinking they were the main attraction in your story. They mistook your kindness for worship. They mistook your patience for dependence. They mistook your loyalty for blindness. They thought they were untouchable. They thought you'd always choose them. But people forget that quiet ones notice everything. The signs, the patterns, the disrespect, they all add up. And one day, without warning, your heart simply shut off. No argument, no explanation, no dramatic farewell. Just a clean shift from "I care" to "I don't." What shocked them wasn't that you left, it was how effortlessly you detached. One moment they were the center of your world, and the next they couldn't even get a crumb of your energy. That's what stung. That's what bruised their ego. That's what exposed how fragile they really were. You didn't yell. You didn't fight. You didn't plead. You didn't chase. You simply showed them their actual value by withdrawing yours. And suddenly their inflated importance deflated like cheap air. That's when reality slapped them harder than anything you could have said. Because the truth is, they weren't special. You just treated them better than they deserved. You just loved them in a way no one ever had. You just gave them grace they didn't earn. They confused the treatment for their worth, not realizing you were the reason they felt valuable at all. When you pulled back, they felt the emptiness immediately. They felt the void where your energy used to sit. They felt the silence that replaced your affection. And that silence carried a message louder than any revenge. You were never the prize I was. They thought you'd crumble without them, that you'd miss them, that you'd regret leaving. Instead, you flourished. You healed. You leveled up. You replaced them with peace, and peace fit you better than their chaos ever did. They looked around and saw how easily you rebuilt your life, how your glow didn't dim, how your world didn't fall apart. That's when the panic began. Because nothing is more insulting to someone who thinks they're everything than realizing they were nothing. You didn't need closure, they needed it. You weren't waiting for an apology, they were hoping for a chance. You weren't stuck in the past, they were stuck replaying every moment where they thought you were beneath them. Now they see the truth. You were never beneath them. You were beyond them. They thought losing you would hurt you. Instead, it exposed them. It showed how little they bring to the table. It showed how much they depended on your presence to feel important. It showed that the version of themselves they liked only existed in your eyes. You didn't destroy their ego, the truth did. The truth that while they were busy playing games, you were growing. While they were trying to lower your worth, you were discovering it. While they assumed they were unforgettable, you realized forgetting them was the easiest part. And now they're angry, confused, embarrassed, because you treated them like they mattered. And now you treat them like they're dust. That contrast shattered them. That shift woke them up. That coldness humbled them in ways life never managed to. They try to convince themselves you'll come back. They try to convince themselves you still care. They try to convince themselves they still have a chance. But deep down they know you saw through the illusion they created. And once you see someone clearly, you can't unsee it. The same person they once bragged about having wrapped around their finger now walks past them without a second glance. The same heart they took for granted now beats peacefully without them. The same soul they dismissed now shines brighter without their shadow. They didn't lose you by accident, they lost you by choice. Their disrespect turned you away. Their arrogance turned you off. Their selfishness pushed you to your limit. And the moment you reached it, you reclaimed everything they thought they owned. Your power, your peace, your future. Their biggest shock is realizing you were the one elevating them the whole time. Your presence made them feel special. Your love made them feel chosen. Your energy made them feel important. Without you, they're back to their original state average. Insecure, forgettable. They thought they were the treasure. Now they understand they were the burden. They thought you'd be devastated. Now they see you're liberated. They thought they held power. Now they realize they were the weak link all along. And the worst part, you didn't even have to expose them. Time did, distance did, silence did, your growth did. And now they sit there sick to their stomach because they finally see their true worth through your absence. What they considered losing you was really you returning to yourself. What they considered a breakup was you breaking free. What they considered a mistake you'd regret became a blessing you never questioned. Your silence became the final nail in the coffin of their ego. Your indifference became their punishment. Your peace became their reminder that they were never on your level. Not then, not now, not ever. And now wherever they go, whoever they meet, they'll remember one truth they can't escape. They weren't special, you just loved them like they were. And once that love ended, so did the illusion. Their downfall wasn't losing you, it was realizing they never deserved you in the first place. And nothing haunts a person more than recognizing the value they mistreated. So now they sit with the truth, bitter and humbled. Because you didn't ruin them, you simply removed yourself. And in doing so, you showed them exactly what they were, not shite. They didn't expect you to heal this fast, this silently, this powerfully. They assumed you'd be stuck in the ruins they left behind, crawling through memories, trying to put the pieces back together. Instead, you stepped over the ruins and built an empire from what was supposed to break you. And when they saw that glow return to your face without their presence attached to it, they realized just how insignificant their role actually was. Their ego can't process the fact that you never chased them. You never begged. You never asked for explanations. You just walked away like someone who finally saw the truth. They expected drama, tears, emotional collapse. They expected to feel important by watching you fall apart. Instead, all they witnessed was their own irrelevance staring back at them in your calm exit. And now it's eating them alive. Because you didn't lose anything. They did. They lost the one person who gave them love, without them having to earn it. They lost the one person who saw goodness in them when they couldn't see it in themselves. They lost the one presence that elevated them. And worst of all, they lost you without a fight, because they weren't worth one. They keep replaying everything now, wondering which moment they could have saved, wondering where they slipped up, wondering why you didn't crumble. Because deep down they know, if they mattered the way they imagined, you would have stayed. But you didn't. And that truth keeps clawing at their mind in silence. They wanted to feel like a prize in your life, but losing you revealed just how much they relied on your validation to feel alive. You were the one holding them up, and once you stepped back, they collapsed into their natural state. Ordinary, insecure, exposed. Turns out, the special glow they bragged about was just your reflection shining on them. And the funniest part? They still think you're angry. They still think you're hurt. They still think you're healing. They don't realize you ended the chapter the moment they became a burden. Your heart didn't break. It simply closed its door and threw away the key. Not out of pain, but out of clarity. Your silence became their karma. Every day they wake up with the thought, what if they never come back? That fear sits in their chest like a weight they can't shake off. Because now they know you weren't attached, you were patient. And once that patience ran out, so did their relevance. They stalk you from the shadows now, trying to understand how you became so unreachable. They can't comprehend that walking away wasn't hard for you. Staying was. And the moment you realized that, everything shifted. Your goodbye wasn't emotional, it was logical. That's what crushed them the most. You gave them a chance to be something meaningful. You gave them the opportunity to rise. You gave them space to meet you at the level you stood on. But they chose to play shallow games. They chose to underestimate you. They chose to sabotage something that could have elevated them. And now they're stuck with the consequences they crafted themselves. What haunts them is not the loss, it's the realization that they were the forgettable one, that they were the placeholder, that they were the lesson, not the destiny, that you were the standard they'll spend the rest of their life trying to find in someone else. They're shocked because they expected their lies to shatter you, not sharpen you. They thought deception would destabilize you, but all it did was make your vision clearer and your peace harder to disturb. They're shocked because their cheating didn't break your confidence the way they intended. Instead of collapsing, you watched, learned, and grew quieter, and that quiet unnerved them more than any confrontation ever could. They're shocked that every plot they crafted behind your back never provoked you into chaos. You met manipulation with composure, and nothing threatens a schemer more than a target who isn't reactive. They're shocked that while they tried to paint your world in confusion, you walked through the storm with an unbothered smile, refusing to let their darkness stain your inner calm. They're shocked because they had expected outrage, tears, or vengeance. What they got instead was a level of emotional distance so cold it made their betrayal feel irrelevant. They're shocked that the truth they hid so desperately didn't even have the power to move your heartbeat. You processed their disloyalty with the same energy you'd give to bad weather, something you notice, not something you fear. They're shocked because their cheating was supposed to hold power over you. Instead, it exposed their weakness, their insecurity, and their inability to ever have someone like you fully. They're shocked that all the whispers, secrets, and backstage plotting never changed your consistency. You stayed kind, stayed focused, stayed graceful right in front of people expecting you to fall apart. They're shocked that every attempt to control you only revealed how uncontrollable your spirit really was. Your calm became the one thing they couldn't predict or influence. They're shocked that the more they lied, the more you smiled, not because you were naive, but because you already knew, and you chose to watch them ruin themselves without interference. They're shocked because they confused your silence with ignorance. Now, they're learning silence can be a strategy far sharper than confrontation. They're shocked that the person they tried to deceive was 10 steps ahead the entire time. You knew the plot long before they performed it. They're shocked that the betrayal they thought would define you actually defined them. It exposed their character more than it ever damaged yours. They're shocked because they realize now that you weren't holding on, you were observing. You weren't blinded, you were patient. They're shocked that nothing they did shifted your self-worth. You remained whole, untouched by the dirt they tried to drag you through. They're shocked because you didn't respond with revenge. You responded with removal, and that is a punishment far more severe than anything they imagined. They're shocked that while they tried to deceive you in the shadows, your intuition had already illuminated everything they thought they hid. They're shocked because the moment you left, their entire web of lies collapsed into itself. It only stayed stable because you stood there holding it together. They're shocked that your smile wasn't a sign of ignorance, it was a sign of control. You were controlling your exit, not clinging to the situation. They're shocked that you handled betrayal like a business transaction. No emotional debt, no dramatic reaction, just clean detachment. They're shocked because you didn't crumble under the weight of their deception. You simply shifted your energy away, and that shift created a silence they now fear. They're shocked that the truth didn't break you, it freed you. You walked away lighter than you ever were with them. They're shocked because your strength was never loud, never violent, never attention-seeking. It was quiet, and quiet strength terrifies the weak. They're shocked that the lies they once celebrated now haunt them, because they realize you saw through every single one. They're shocked that the betrayal they thought empowered them only made them look small, standing next to the way you carried yourself afterward. They're shocked because you smiled through the chaos, not out of denial but out of mastery. You knew exactly who they were and exactly who you were becoming. They're shocked because they never expected you to evolve through their mistreatment. They expected you to sink, not rise. They're shocked because your happiness after betrayal is a mirror showing them what they'll never be strong enough to achieve. They're shocked that you let them play their entire game before walking away. That kind of patience is a different tier of power. They're shocked because you didn't expose them. You let time do it. Time always does a cleaner job than confrontation. They're shocked that your smile wasn't weakness, it was a warning they were too arrogant to interpret. They're shocked because nothing they did broke you. Instead, everything they did revealed you, and everything you did revealed them. And that revelation is the one truth they can never forgive themselves for. They never expected that the same smile they tried to break would become the very expression that haunted them. Every time you smiled through their lies, it wasn't innocence, it was awareness. They thought they were manipulating you while you were quietly studying every move they made. Your calmness rattled their guilt, your silence destabilized their ego. Now they look back, terrified of how much you actually knew. They don't know how to process the fact that nothing they did ever cracked you. Not the betrayal, not the deception, not the secret plotting behind your back. You smiled through it like you were watching amateurs perform. It infuriates them that they never saw fear, only understanding. That smile became the proof that you were already ahead of the entire situation. They genuinely believed you were blind to their games, but you were giving them space to reveal themselves, handing them rope they eagerly wrapped around their own intentions. You watched them sabotage a connection they weren't mature enough to value. Your smile wasn't weakness. It was acceptance that they were never deserving of your deeper layers. And that acceptance set you free long before you left. Now they sit with the uncomfortable truth that they weren't the villain in your story, they weren't even a major character. Their actions felt huge to them, but tiny to you. You mentally detached while they still thought they were winning. They didn't realize you had already moved on emotionally, long before physically walking away. What kills them the most is that you were never emotionally destroyed the way they expected. You didn't crumble, you didn't break, you didn't chase closure. Instead, you carried yourself with a composure that made them second-guess the power they thought they had. Your smile became a reminder that they failed to damage what they couldn't reach. They hate that you handled their betrayal with elegance instead of chaos. You didn't shout, you didn't expose, you didn't create drama, you simply observed. And the moment you had all the information you needed, you withdrew. That level of control terrifies people who rely on manipulation. It proved you were dealing with them from a place of strength, not desperation. Your silence became the mirror they never wanted to face. In that silence, their guilt grew louder. Their lies became heavier. Their conscience became sharper. You didn't need to confront them. Their own mind did it for you. And that was far more painful than anything you could have said. They thought you would react emotionally, but you responded strategically. They expected tears and instead got distance. They expected anger and instead got indifference. They expected a breakdown and got evolution. Nothing confuses a manipulator more than losing the power they imagined they had. It bothers them that you never fought to stay connected, because people fight for what they feel dependent on, and you didn't fight at all. You walked away with a steady heart and a quiet mind. That calm exit still burns them more than a dramatic goodbye ever could. They hate that you outgrew them so naturally. You didn't force anything, you didn't rush anything, you simply elevated out of their reach. And now they're stuck replaying everything, trying to figure out the exact moment you realized you deserve better. It hurts them that they can't pinpoint it. They are disgusted by how peaceful you became without them, as if their absence didn't create a void but removed a burden. Your glow irritates them because it proves they weren't the blessing they pretended to be. You healed so effortlessly that it damaged their pride. Your growth feels like an insult to their ego. Every improvement you make is a reminder that they misjudged you. They expected you to struggle, but you flourished. They expected you to chase them, but you never looked back. They expected regret, but regret never came. They can't stand that you didn't lose anything when you lost them, because they needed you far more than you ever needed them. You were the stability, the maturity, the loyalty, the depth, everything they lacked. Now they're left grappling with the truth that you were the prize they failed to protect. Seeing you happy without their presence wounds them more deeply than any confrontation would. Your joy contradicts the narrative they created about you. They told themselves you were weak, emotional, dependent, but your life now proves the opposite. That contradiction eats them alive. They hate realizing that you saw every move before it was fully played, that nothing about their strategy surprised you the way they thought it did. What unsettles them most is not that you exposed them, but that you chose not to. They are furious because they believe their performance was flawless, their deception airtight, their timing perfect. Knowing you watched it all unfold without interrupting shatters the illusion of their superiority. They thought they were clever for so long because you let them feel clever. They never questioned why you never rushed to correct them or stop them mid-scheme. They hate that you knew what they were doing and still smiled at the right moments, still nodded at the right times, still allowed the narrative to move forward without resistance. They are disturbed by the reality that your silence was not confusion but consent to let the truth reveal itself fully without your interference. They thought they were manipulating your reality. What breaks them now is knowing you were simply allowing their truth to ripen into something undeniable. They replay every moment now, scanning for the exact point where you realized everything. What they can't stomach is knowing you probably knew far earlier than they ever suspected. They hate that you didn't confront them when they were still rehearsed, still confident, still protected by their masks. You waited until their performance exhausted itself. They believed you were behind the curve. They never realized you had already reached the conclusion while they were still building the illusion. They hate that their control only existed because you allowed the stage to stay lit long enough for them to expose themselves completely. They assumed your calm meant safety for them. They didn't understand that your calm was the most dangerous thing in the room. They are angry because your participation now feels like a mirror they can't look away from. Everything they did with confidence now feels grotesque in hindsight. They hate knowing that every lie they told landed in a mind that was already aware of the truth. That awareness turns every memory into quiet humiliation. They thought your obedience meant you needed them. They didn't realize your patience meant you were timing your freedom. They hate that you never begged for honesty. You didn't need it. You already had clarity. They believed your staying meant agreement. They never considered that staying can sometimes be surveillance rather than loyalty. They are enraged that their secrets never weighed on you the way they thought they would. You carried knowledge without letting it rot you. They assumed your lack of reaction meant lack of awareness. What terrifies them now is knowing it meant restraint. They hate that you mastered the art of appearing unaffected while collecting every inconsistency like evidence that no court would ever need. They believed they were rehearsing you through emotional choreography. They didn't realize you were studying the rhythm to step out of it flawlessly. They feel small knowing you watched their ego perform on a stage you no longer believed in. They hate that you gave them room to reveal the ugliest versions of themselves without ever lowering yourself into the same mud. They can't accept that you understood their motives so clearly and still allowed the story to complete itself without rewriting it. They are unsettled by how clean your exit was, how untouched you seemed by the mess they were still standing in. They hate that they never saw fear in you. Even while they thought they were winning, you never reflected the desperation they were hoping to create. They believed your endurance meant emotional dependence. They now realize it meant emotional immunity. They are disturbed by how little they truly mattered once you understood the full scope of their behavior. They hate that you didn't collapse when the truth became undeniable. You simply transitioned. They are furious because your calm in retrospect feels like quiet dominance they never consented to play against. They believe the game belonged to them. They didn't realize you had already decided it wasn't worth winning. They hate knowing they exposed themselves completely to someone who never planned to use the exposure as a weapon. They are angry because your knowing participation makes them feel transparent in a way no confrontation ever could. They thought they were shaping the narrative. They never realized you were letting it finish so you could close the book without doubt. They despise that you understood the entire game and still played along long enough to see exactly who they were when no one was forcing them to choose. They hate that your silence now feels heavier than any accusation you could ever make. They can't escape the truth that you weren't fooled, you were finished long before they knew the end was coming. And this is the truth that seals their anger into something permanent and inescapable. You didn't stay because you were unaware. You didn't stay because you were weak. You didn't stay because you were dependent. You stayed long enough to be certain. They didn't outplay you. They didn't outsmart you. They didn't outlast you. They simply revealed themselves completely to someone who no longer needed proof. They hate that you knew their entire game and still let it run to the final scene. Without interference, without chaos, without revenge. Because now there is no ambiguity left, only clarity. And clarity is the one ending they cannot rewrite. They hate that every smile you gave them now feels like a quiet confession you never needed to speak. What once felt like normal moments now echo with meaning they can't escape. They are disturbed that your presence was never as innocent as they assumed, that behind your calm eyes was awareness patiently waiting for its own timing. They feel exposed by the idea that you were never emotionally behind them, only strategically ahead of the moment when you would no longer need to stay. They hate that your participation now feels like permission they never should have been given, because it allowed them to become their truest, ugliest selves without resistance. They replay every lie now, knowing it landed in a mind that was already aware, and that realization turns confidence into embarrassment. They feel humiliated by the possibility that you never once acted out of confusion, only out of choice. They hate that you didn't interrupt their downfall early, because stopping it early would have saved their pride from full exposure. They are furious that you let their behavior reach its most honest form before you removed yourself. They wish you had confronted them sooner so they could have reshaped themselves in time to preserve the image they were trying to protect. They despise that you saw them clearly while they never saw you coming. They are haunted by the idea that you watched them betray you without flinching, already preparing the version of yourself that would never return. They hate that every memory they cherish now feels tainted by the truth they only discovered too late. They are unsettled because your knowing silence feels more deliberate than any manipulation they ever attempted. They feel mocked by their own past confidence, now realizing it existed only because you allowed it to. They hate that you never rushed their exposure, because it means they had no one to blame but themselves. They are disturbed by how calmly you exited once you had collected all the certainty you needed. They hate that you didn't use their truth as a weapon, because that would have made them feel powerful in a familiar way. They are enraged that your restraint makes their behavior look smaller than if you had reacted explosively. They resent that you never became the villain in their story, no matter how badly they needed you to. They hate that you understood the entire game and still let it finish naturally, because now there is no confusion left, only accountability. And this is where the truth finally hardens into something unchangeable, something they can neither apologize past nor rewrite into comfort. You didn't stay to be fooled. You stayed to be sure. You didn't play along because you were lost. You played along because you were watching. You didn't leave out of anger. You left out of knowing. They hate that you understood everything and still let them become exactly who they were without trying to save them from themselves. Because now there is no argument left, no alternate version, no misunderstanding to hide behind. Only this: They weren't exposed by you. They were exposed by time, by repetition, by their own unchecked behavior, in the presence of someone who already saw the truth and chose silence, until silence became freedom. That is the part they will never forgive you for. Not that you knew, but that you knew and still walked away clean.